Hello. I'm back. In this video we'll be going through Yandere Simulator and see how much things have changed after 2 years. This is the first time I touch this game since my last video. Let's begin. First, let's take a look around Yandere Chen's room. An anime stand. What can anyone possibly learn anything from anime? Maybe for Alex's mind it's a legitimate way to learn something, but I can't imagine anyone with a decent, productive life taking it this seriously. A drawer. Just as expected, it's still full of underwear. If Alex seriously looks into selling the game, this will bite him into his sagging behind. I personally don't mind this. It doesn't hurt anyone, except my innocence, but people in the Western society are huge Puritans when it comes to things about girls and conventional beauty. There are many different dignifying ways to wrap this into. I'll pick the modest one. I'm not sure if it actually works. Now, the shrine. It's empty. I hope there is nothing gross to be collected. That's it for the room. Now the basement. Just the way I remember it, a couple of pickups, and that's it. Well, now it's school time. A smooth start. I was expecting some noticeable stutter upon loading so many characters and environment elements. A pleasant detail. Different students walk together in different groups. This is new to me. The game gives you gameplay information. It's nothing special really, but given what kind of developer works on this game, we can consider this as a significant piece of progress. New lockers. Look at all these shoes, and all of them at the level of your head. Imagine the smell. Not a very hygienic thing. The animation is well done, if only the effort put into making these small details was directed towards something more significant, such as developing core elements like a functioning rival. Derpy-looking posters. Unpleasant sight. I understand Alex put many people away, but settling for something poor like this is disrespectful to the people who play the game. Let's take a look at changes outside the school first. The gym. The sports club was the last update I remember. There was also a pool that roasted people's graphics cards. being pushed away from the boys' locker room? That's the only fun place in the whole game. I'm missing all the action. Need to think quickly. Ah, windows. Let's try to sneak behind. It's too high, I can't jump, and there is no conveniently placed box to step on. This is how bad Alex is with game design. We can creep on girls, but no boys. Last time I was around the pool it made my video card scream in pain, but it's quiet now, or maybe it's dying in silence. The gym model needs a bit of work. The front side looks very plain. As far as I know, even the storages are required to have some windows. It's nice to see the space is occupied with something though. We can kidnap somebody using this box, and we are kindly provided by the checklist. Did you notice that? Models from far away did not play the animation sequence. This is a good sign. It means Alex is actually optimizing the game. It's a very common practice to allow consoles and computers to run games much more smoothly by disabling animations if the actors are too far away. Everything behind the stage is in order. I don't see anything new. Let's move on. This is nice. A dining area and a small garden. And it looks convincing too. How interesting. A small house, and we can get inside. Signs of someone being here. This is a pretty odd choice of literature, something I'm sure Alex would certainly read. By the way, this is not my kind of vacation. The space outside feels less empty and more tight. Let's look inside this maze. Very convenient spot to lure someone into a private time away from prying eyes. There should be the gardening club somewhere. Let's find it. So far I like these changes. Far not the best. There is still plenty of work, but we have what we have. Flower bush has a pretty model, but it's all ruined by placement. Repetitiveness makes an ugly, effortless environment. Bushes could have models with slight changes to the number of flowers, leaves, shape, but still share the same texture. It's not hard at all. They could have been at least turned a little bit to imitate variation, but even this flew over the head of our wisest game developer. A shed. I bet there are plenty of goodies inside, but this huge lock suggests I have to earn the access. Putting very repetitive environment elements aside, it's a decent part of the school area. Another small garden, but this one is a little different. The assets here have decent texturing that shows wear and exposure to elements. Instead of the tea house, this garden has a shrine. I don't think shrines belong on school property, but who am I to know all things about glorious Japan? Something is not right with this model. Let's take a closer look. It's a detailed and relatively complex model. The colors of the texture do not come together with the established pastel style of the environment. These black stripes are not supposed to be here. It's in fact data for transparency, but the Yondir simulator doesn't have transparency in its shaders. The size doesn't seem to be correct, and it's a very well optimized model. All this suggests this model wasn't made by any volunteer, but is downloaded from somewhere. Must be one of those placeholders. Now, inside the school. First thing I notice inside is the infirmary. It's significantly better, convincing, and all the assets belong to each other. Teachers in the faculty room look distinguishable, and their hair matches the original style of the game. The thing that has always bothered me about these clubs is that they occupy space within the main school building. If you ever had drama class in your school, it would always be somewhere far from all the other classes, preferably in a separate building, as well as kitchen and workshops. Workshops especially, because tools are very loud and disrupt the classes. I know Alex is a special boy who had to be homeschooled, so he doesn't know much about schools in the first place, so we can let it pass. But the occult club is just exceptional idea. It could have been a secret club hidden somewhere outside, or a secret clique which you had to earn acceptance into. This is what happens with your brain if you take manga as a substitute for a school book. The schoolyard has changed for the better. Again, the school still has no windows. From the looks of it, it's a modular asset, so there should be no difficulty to add sections with windows at all, but who knows what it really is. You saw all those merged models. Next. First thing I see is a disappointing emptiness. Even just for the hall, there should be some decals that would help players orient in this bland, repetitive environment. Still empty rooms. Art club room is filled with proper items, and proper art, at least most of it is proper. You can easily tell which ones were made by Mulberry. Oh look, my assets are still here. Even the microphone. Here is something that looks like a mirror. This is in fact not a mirror at all. This is a plane that projects view from an invisible camera object. As far as I know, this makes the game render another screen. It's a fancy trick, but completely useless, as it does not make a convincing illusion of a mirror and requires an excess amount of resources. Section for martial arts should be located somewhere in the gym. Alex may not know it, but you get sweaty doing physical activities like that, so students need to use showers. The gaming club. This never sat right with me, because it does not look like a gaming room at all. It has no proper table for tabletop games, which would be the only thing allowed in school. There also are no consoles, but instead this arcade machine. This is a room of someone who's obsessed with anime. Lair of a weeb with too much money for his own good. For Alex it may be a representation of a gamer, because he's a weeb himself. After 2 years of development, this floor doesn't have much to look at. Next. Another art room with an empty class next to it. Why not bring the corresponding club here? It would make sense. Doesn't Alex like to make sense in video games? Inside the art room, I'm greeted with the horrible sight of a grotesque parody on Mona Lisa. Mulberry may fancy herself as an artist, but she's not even mediocre, she's simply awful, and fat. So much emptiness and so little to do. Ah, announcement room. Maybe here we can have a little fun, such as spreading a rumor through the whole school, or outing someone publicly. Should have expected that we can't interact with anything here. Computer class. Let's examine models a little closer. It looks like all the keys are actual geometry, not a texture. It shouldn't affect performance, but I still would bake the keys into texture. Another club. For some reason I get the feeling all these pictures which are meant to stay together in this room don't share an atlas texture. Atlas is a single big image, which contains textures for multiple models. It allows the game to load one file instead of many. I'll have to extract these models to verify. And right behind the curtains, more eyesore. What do weeb accessories have to do with photography? Alex, for the majority of people, life doesn't revolve around Japanese cartoons. The Science Club. It looks like Alex poured every single drop of his weeb imagination into it, as well as intimate fantasies. Nothing more to see here. Here is not much to do, but enough to see. Even with the school area becoming tighter, it still has a whole lot of unused space. There could be some sheds and storages for the groundskeeper and equipment. There could be a separate building for the workshops and art classes. A football field would fit in. A lot of opportunities, but for Alex alone this is way too much to handle. Unfortunately, as we know, he rejects any professional help regarding game design and coding. His project can't move forward because of minor and basic elements. It will be going on like this for years. The game is in stagnation. Even if it somehow gets first rival to function, it will take even more time to complete the rest. There is nothing to do in Yondir Simulator but laugh at its developer and his minions. You may wonder, why didn't anyone go forward and make a better game? People who have skills and competence know this requires a team. People with no skill try, but ultimately fail, delivering nothing worth of value, just compilations of assets. But all that requires another video to explain.